Hi guys, it's Dylan from Bijou Diamond Jewellery in London again with another watch review, and today we're looking at the Tag Heuer Carrera Calibre HEUER 1. Let's jump straight into some of the features of this watch. Most of the Carreras are chronographs, and this one is obviously no exception. And they have like a racing history behind them to do with cars and racing. Some of the design kind of replicates that. The case diameter is 45mm on this piece, so it's a big piece. I don't know the exact depth measurement of this watch, but I know it's pretty deep and it sits very high on the wrist as well. And the strap doesn't sort of slip around your wrist like some watches do, specifically the Purlons that I wear on my Submariner. They conform to the wrist really well and they drop straight down past the case, whereas on the Tag we're looking at here, the strap sort of flares out at the lugs, adding even more size to this big watch. The case design is a 12-piece design, and that's made from ceramic and titanium. The ceramic's got this really nice polished look. I think it's a really smart looking piece, and it almost appears grey instead of like a deep black. I think that's kind of like a characteristic of polished ceramic, because I've seen some other watches, ceramic watches, and they do really appear like a gunmetal grey, like a chrome black. So the case is made out of ceramic, and then the pushers and the crown are made from titanium, and it's brushed titanium on these pieces. The majority of the actual case is made out of polished ceramic. It is a very shiny looking watch. There's some nice sort of accents within the piece, but the majority of the watch is polished. A nice small subtle detail is on the edge of the bezel. That's actually a brushed finish, a little nice accent. I suppose they did that there maybe because that might be more susceptible to scratching because it's right on the edge of the watch. Then if we look at the back of this piece, we can see the movement through the clear crystal case back. And that crystal case back is held down by what appears to be a brushed titanium housing. Let's take a quick look at the strap of this watch as well. So it's also black. This piece is an all blacked out watch. The strap on this watch is like a matte or satin black finish. It looks really smart against the polished ceramic. I like the holes in the strap. It kind of, again, a little bit like a car, going with the whole design of the Carrera, and it's also much more comfortable with these holes because it's like a ventilation. I think it also helps to make the strap a little bit more supple in terms of being able to conform to shapes easier. The clasp on this watch is a brushed titanium clasp. I like this clasp, it's very easy to use. At first, when the strap is brand new, it's pretty difficult to move it around, but I'm sure that loosens up over time. The great thing about this system is there's infinite possibilities of sizes in terms of wrist size, because you can adjust it by such small increments because there's no actual holes for you to put the buckle in or on other deployment clasps. This is purely clamping down onto the rubber, so you can clamp it anywhere you want. So that kind of is a great advantage on this watch because you can find that perfect size for your wrist. Maybe not quite as good as the standard oyster clasp on a Rolex, because on that you can undo it and have like a little extra room in case it gets hot and your wrist expands. This one you're kind of set with that size and that's it. Obviously you can adjust it, but that's much longer than on the oyster clasp. And then moving up to the top of the strap where it meets the case, we have this kind of Tag logo indentation within the rubber. To me that looks a lot like the Hublot strap deployment buttons on the Big Bang Unicos, which brings me on to a big important point with this watch that a lot of people say it's very Hublot-esque in terms of the design. It looks much more like a Hublot than a normal Tag. Maybe Jean-Claude Vivet has something to do with the design with that, because obviously he's CEO at Hublot and also Tag. So he must have had some influence in kind of the overlap within the brands. I mean, similarities between the two of them, they're big cases. 45mm. That's a very Hublot style case sitting high on the wrist, and it's also blacked out like the Unico as well. Let's move on to the dial, which in my opinion is probably the nicest feature about this watch. It's got such little intricate details within the piece which kind of contrasts that whole big rugged look of the outer case and the strap. Let's start from the top of the watch and work our way down into the dial. So if we look at the crystal on this piece, it's made out of sapphire and it's got a double anti-glare coating. And I really like that domed effect. I think it looks really cool. And the anti-glare has almost this like purple reflection to it, which I think looks really smart with that black. And the crystal's also scratch resistant, as is the ceramic as well. The hands and the index markers on this piece remind me even more of Hublot. I think they're very Hublot-esque. Again, kind of that gunmetal or black chrome effect. They look really smart. The sub-dials appear to almost float on the dial, same with the index as well, and then the Tag logo. I think these look really smart, and I really like that sub-dial at 9 o'clock, which is a darker like black versus that gunmetal grey, kind of contrast between the two of the other sub-dials. The date window is one of my favourite features on this watch. I like the way they've kind of exposed or skeletonized the whole movement, and you can kind of see the actual other numbers and the way they've connected that all into one. I like the way that the numbers almost float over that white background for the date window. The whole design of this dial kind of reminds me of like an alloy wheel, and then the same if you turn over the watch and you look at that rotor on the back, that looks like a tyre and an alloy wheel as well. I think it's a really cool look. You can definitely tell it's got like a racing heritage or history behind the Carrera. If you look right to the back of the dial, you can see the movement, which is like a silver finish. Kind of contrasts the whole black look of the watch. It works really well, like a transition between that gunmetal, slightly lighter chrome black look, and then you've got that dark, deep black within the outer bezel within the dial. Would I own this watch? Probably not. It's way too big for me. It doesn't look that bad on the wrist, but I wouldn't want to wear something this big. Personally, 45 mil is much too big for me. Which is why I struggle with a lot of the Hublots. I also don't like the shiny look of this watch personally. I prefer a brushed finish, which is why I went for the Submariner over the GMT. If you haven't seen that video comparison already, then go check that out. But in that video, I discussed the fact that I prefer a subtle look to a watch, which the black is subtle, but the shininess is just a little bit too much for me on this watch. It's too many surfaces polished. And I think if they broke it up and added some more brushed effect within this piece, I think it would look amazing. It's an amazing watch for someone who would love to own a Hublot and really appreciates the Hublot design, but doesn't want to spend the Hublot price tag. I think this is an amazing piece for that person. It can be your daily wearer to an extent, and it looks amazing with that sporty look. You just need to have quite big wrists to pull it off, I think. Thank you so much guys for watching. Stay tuned for more watch reviews coming. Apologies for the delay between this one and the last one that we did. We've been really busy because we're launching our new online website for engagement rings and wedding bands.